Good day, everyone. Welcome to Non-Destructive Testing for Structural Assessment webinar hosted by CSCE Toronto section. For those who are not familiar with the organization, the Canadian Society for Civil Engineering is a not-for-profit learned society created to develop and maintain high standards of civil engineering practice in Canada. We'd like to take a moment to thank our section's gold and silver sponsors, FPrimeC and Carlos Engineering. If you have any questions during today's webinar, please type them in the chat box. We'll answer them at the end of the presentation. We'll be sending out PDH certificates after the event. In order to receive yours, please email the password, which is NDT. I'll repeat NDT, which as it is displayed on the screen. And please send it to cscetoronto.awards@gmail.com. Our speaker for today is Dr. Hamed Layssi. Dr. Hamed is a co-founder and structural engineer at FPrimeC Solutions Inc, a technology company specialized in advanced non-destructive testing and evaluation of concrete materials and structures. Over the past 15 years, he has been heavily involved with the concrete industry as a professional engineer and researcher. He has an extensive academic background in structural evaluation, inspection, and repair of concrete structures. He holds a PhD from McGill University, Canada, and ranked among 150 top researchers in Canada in 2018 and received the 2018 Entrepreneurship Award from PEO Ottawa Chapter. We'd like to invite Dr. Hamed to present his webinar today. Over to you, Dr. Hamed.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening to people joining from Europe and Asia. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. Special thanks to CSCE Toronto section for having this meeting and arranging for this. It has been a great pleasure working with you, ladies and gentlemen here. I'll make it brief since you have already done the introduction. Today's webinar presentation is going to be about the applications of non-destructive testing for structural evaluation. So let's begin with the first question, structural assessment. But just before going forward, I just want to make sure you all see my slide deck properly. Is it on the full screen mode?
Yes, we can see it perfectly.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you very much. Structural assessment. There are two main areas that we might need a structural assessment. The first one is where structural assessment is mandated by an authority. Let's say there is a change of ownership. You are a property manager and you want to transfer the ownership of your power plant or a dam to a new owner. Often the cases is that a structural assessment is required to validate the integrity and the conformity of the asset. The other area that requires structural assessment is after having an incident such as earthquake or a fire, or when like a natural process of aging of structures results into significant damages to the facility. According to the Professional Engineers Ontario guideline for structural condition assessment, we have four main elements when we are performing a structural assessment. And it is about collecting observations and data about the existing building, through a systematic and scientific method. So these are like very important. So observation. So most of our visual inspections start by visual inspection, like developing an eye to see anomalies within a structural system. Collecting data, and that is by any means. You can have destructive tests, you can have like a non-destructive test, and you can have laboratory test results to bring more information and more data. But all this doesn't mean anything if you don't do this in a systematic and scientific manner. So it's very important to have a work plan to perform these assessments, and your methods have to be proven either in a research or through guidelines and codes. If you want to have a structural condition assessment that stands like when you're discussing with your clients, or when you're like presenting it to like asset owner. So we talked about defects and damages to the facility, but let's see what is defect. Based on the Ontario Structure Inspection Manual, a defect is an identifiable and unwanted condition that has not been part of the original intent of design. So let's say you design a facility, you don't want to see any type of cracks or voids in this. And now after removing the formwork, you see there is a honeycombing, you see there is significant cracking. Those are called defects because the original intent of design hasn't been to have those items included in your design. Examples are like a lot of voids and honeycombing and discontinuities, like in new construction, and when we are dealing with an existing structure that has been there and exposed to several deteriorating mechanisms, then we will have corrosion, delamination, and things like that. These defects can have impact on the performance of the structure. The impact can be either like aesthetic, like it's just like cosmetic, so you don't just like the appearance of the element, which is quite important because like imagine you're like walking in an underpass, like and it's significant cracking and like delamination. People don't simply feel safe, even if you convince them that it is safe. It's just like about the feeling of not being safe. Then you have durability performance, which is more about cracking, permeability, leaks. And then we have a structural performance where defects have negative impact on the strength and capacity of the structure. But what information do we need when we are dealing with a structure? We need information about the characterization of materials, like strength, like tensile strength, compressive strength. If we are dealing with a steel material, the strength of a steel, yield the strength of the steel. If we are talking about structural integrity of concrete, we are talking about continuity. If there are if the cover thickness matches the design recommendations or not. And how we can get this information, I just have a quick example here just to give you an idea. So this is an exposed concrete column, let's say, and these are type of information that you are looking to collect, information about the distribution of steel reinforcement in your concrete element. You want to know the rebar spacing. If, for example, you're investigating a structure in a high seismic zone, you want to see if the reinforcement, if the stirrups in the plastic hinging zone conforms with the new guidelines and codes, especially if dealing with a structure that is designed substandard, like an older structure. Then you also want to visually examine the condition of steel reinforcement. Is it corroded? Is it like small, or like the sizing? And also other details such as taking cores, for example, from concrete to evaluate the strength of concrete. Now, there are when you're dealing with concrete structures, then there are certain parameters that is more significant and more interesting from perspective of engineers, and that is FPrimeC, which is like the compressive strength of concrete, the number of rebars that you might have, and this will give the structural engineer information they need to come up with a structural assessment. So how does the structural assessment work? Like, we do have two main categories here. We have preliminary assessment, which is mainly like visual inspection of the structure, identifying defects. And then we have detailed condition assessment, where you go with your team, and depending on what type of structure and facility you are testing, you might come up with an intrusive like test plan, or you might come up with a like non-destructive test plan. So the purpose is to collect information in a systematic way that we discussed earlier. So visual inspection is always first, because this is still one of the most cost-effective solutions, and it gives us an idea of like the extent of defects, the area that needs proper inspection, and also it will give us information about like where to begin our more detailed and enhanced condition assessment. When it comes to building examination, again, we want to basically, our goal is to identify potential defects and also quantify their extent and their severity in a structure. So let's say we have a crack in concrete. Is this crack significant? Is it going to be negatively impacting the structural integrity of our assets or not? And if it is a sign of like only durability concern, or this is coming from an element being overloaded. So these are information that we always want to take. And traditionally, we used to perform destructive testing. It is still one of the most widely used methods in the market. Most codes and guidelines still heavily rely on results from destructive testing, like bring me the core and I will give you the strength, bring me the core and I will give you the information about durability of concrete. And our idea here is not to eliminate these tests. We want to say that non-destructive tests have something that can help you minimize the number of corings and cuttings in concrete. This will, especially when we are talking about an existing asset which is not in a very nice condition, it is already damaged. The last thing that we really want is to make another dent in the structure. So we want to see if NDT in a cost-effective manner can help engineers collect the information they need without necessarily going to and doing the difficult job of taking core samples. So with this, I started chapter 2 of this presentation, which is non-destructive testing. And this is what our firm has mostly stood for over the past few years. With non-destructive testing, we want to show you how NDT can help you collect some of the information that is necessary to making critical decisions about approving or rejecting a new concrete construction, or basically when we are dealing with an existing structure, if the structure actually can stand and has the capacity to get the loadings that are designed for. Couple of codes and guidelines that will help you with the NDT of concrete are the ACI 228 committee. This has been updated in 2013, I guess, the last time, and it provides test methods for evaluation of concrete and structures. And if you see the other two documents, they are pretty old, but unfortunately, or like fortunately for the sake of this presentation only, the methods haven't changed a lot over the past 2 decades. We are pretty much doing the same thing that we did 10 years ago. It's just like we are more up to date with the features that technology has enabled us to do. But fundamentally speaking, these techniques haven't changed dramatically over the past 2 decades. And here in this presentation, we will review some of these test methods, from mechanical to electrical methods, acoustics, electromagnetic based, thermal methods, and electrochemical methods. So let's start with ultrasonic pulse velocity. This is basically, I always enjoy having this as the first in line because I see this as a very good intro to the field of NDT and how NDT and how these techniques can help structural engineers. Ultrasonic pulse velocity is a great tool if we want to determine the quality of concrete in a laboratory or in the field. So how it works, basically in ultrasonic pulse velocity, as you can see in the image in the right, we have two probes. One is the sending transducer and the other one is the receiving transducer. By knowing the distance, we can, and by measuring the arrival time of the signal, we will be able to measure something that is called pulse velocity. Now, if we do have cracks or defects in concrete, we expect that the arrival time of the signal becomes longer. So it means that a poor quality concrete should have a lower velocity, pulse velocity. And this gives us a very good benchmark to classify concrete materials. In the next slide, I'm just going to show you visually like how the test looks like in a practical setup. As you see, like here we are testing a concrete column, and we want to see if ultrasonic pulse velocity can show us if there is any like major defects in the concrete element. And in this one in particular, we are not doing conventional like laboratory UPV. We are doing it in a field setup, and we expect that the presence of a steel reinforcement might have some influence on the readings. So we want to extend the test beyond its limit to see how far NDT can, like ultrasonic pulse velocity can go in providing information about the quality of concrete and also presence of potential significant voids or defects. So there is a table in this one, and on the right side, I'm showing you the same UPV device in another setup. So if you see, there are two probes again, but we can do ultrasonic pulse velocity in three basically different ways. One is direct, when the two probes are facing each other. This is more for laboratory condition when you have access to both sides of concrete. And if you don't, then you like, and you are testing concrete elements like this one, and you have access only to one or two, one side of element most of the time, or two side in a like edge element, then you have to go with semi-direct or indirect methods. But in general, the better the quality of concrete, the higher the wave speed will be. So if you measure the velocity and it is a higher velocity, you might conclude that this has a good quality. Now, for having a good results and meaningful results, you have to avoid putting your probes over the steel reinforcement. So it's always good to use a device to find the approximate location of rebar, to avoid direct placement of sensors on the reinforcement as much as possible. The other technique that is like widely used in the market is rebound hammer, and rebound hammer is a matter of debate between like many engineers. But recently there are newer documents, newer research that shows like if you use the hammer in a proper manner, then the results can actually help you collect very meaningful results about the quality, uniformity, and strength of concrete. And for this, there are different reports that can help you. The most important one in North America will be the ACI 2281R committee about in-place concrete strength, NDT for in-place concrete estimate. Rebound hammer is one of them. And when you combine the results of rebound hammer with ultrasonic pulse velocity, you can even further enhance. And in the next few slides, I'll show you how. Rebound hammer, as you can see in this image, is a pretty straightforward test to do. Like at each test point, you have to repeat the test a minimum of 10 times, and then use the average of 10 readings to come up with an idea about the rebound number of the element. Traditionally, we used to correlate this number to the strength of concrete. We know that that is now no longer 100% valid. So right now we recommend that people use like more project-specific calibration curves to correlate the strength of the rebound number with the strength of concrete. But it is also worth to note that there are new codes like the Euro norm code that you can use the rebound hammer number to classify the strength of concrete, which will significantly reduce the amount of corings that you might need in a large-scale project. If you remember, I talked about like combining the results of rebound hammer with ultrasonic pulse velocity. We did a very interesting job in a couple of projects in the GTA area where clients were like very hesitant about taking cores. So we came up with the SunRep method and an alternative NDT approach to assessing strength of concrete. One of them was a footing element in a project site in Toronto area, and the client was interested to verify the strength of concrete. Now, no coring was permitted, so absolutely there was no way to take concrete cores. So we performed Schmidt hammer test and UPV test, and we combined the results together using mathematical formulations, and we came up with a newer like a map of like strength variation. So this helps like see if like the large area of concrete meets the minimum requirements of concrete strength or not. So if you are like having a 30 MPa design consideration and you are like 25, then this technique can actually help you identify the locations where might potentially be substandard. So this will save times when you have to perform remedy work or where you are forced to remove poor quality areas. We did, again, in a very similar setting, we did a very interesting project on a large scale concrete slab, which was exposed to extremely cold temperatures after cast. And the contractor had to prove that the concrete has reached the strength. So we were hired and we performed the same philosophy. We performed both tests and used the simulations to come up with the contour map of concrete strength. And it helped them like show the areas that are potentially problematic and substandard in terms of concrete strength. Again, this helps you like minimize the number of corings. So imagine like a 400 square meter concrete, you can't take a concrete core from every single square meter. So you have to compromise. And in these cases, NDT provides a very reliable alternative. In this project, even after we did, and the whole purpose was to avoid and minimize the number of coring, 8 cores were taken from the 400 square meter slab, and out of those 8 cores, 7 cores were within 90% of the results from the core. So pretty interesting and pretty accurate those tests were. Another test that is very useful for structural assessment is ultrasonic pulse echo. Now, we deal with a lot of structural systems that engineers only have access from one side. Examples are when we are evaluating trunk sewers, when we are evaluating concrete linings in tunnels, when we are evaluating let's say concrete tanks in water treatment facilities. These are elements that we only have access from outside most of the time, or we only have access from inside if it is an underground tank. So we have to have tools that can provide information about quality and integrity of concrete with one side access only. And ultrasonic pulse echo is one of the great tools that helps engineers in the practice. And the practice is quite simple. If you have the right tool, you will be able to evaluate the quality and the integrity of the layers. You will see if there is any major delamination or discontinuity in the concrete element. At its most basic use, you can use UPE to verify the thickness of element. Let's say you have a bridge abutment 40-50 centimeter, and you want to see if the element meets the design requirement. In more advanced applications, you want to see if there is any void or any significant anomalies within the concrete in the depth, and the test provides very useful information. Again, the technique can be used in ultrasonic tomography, can be used for bridge deck assessment, concrete slabs, in parking garages, in tunnel linings. Another test in this group is impact echo testing. And impact echo testing is, again, when you have only one-sided access element, you can use impact echo to verify the integrity and quality of concrete material. It uses a stress wave method to evaluate, to verify the thickness of concrete components, and also if there is any delamination or discontinuity in a parking garage slab or in a bridge deck slab. The test method will be able to help engineers identify those anomalies in the structure. Another interesting test, which is very popular among people involved in the concrete inspection and testing of the structural systems, is the ground penetrating radar. And GPR traditionally has been used in soil investigation. Now in concrete, it's a little bit different, but provides absolutely great information. Nowadays, most cutting and coring in companies are equipped with different sorts of GPR units, and it will help them verify the location of steel reinforcement ahead of drilling, so they avoid cutting steel reinforcement, or they avoid cutting the live conduits in the concrete slabs. So it's in this most basic application, the GPR can be used to identify the location and the location of the steel reinforcement. If you have capability to calibrate the test results, then the test results can be used to get an estimate of the depth of steel reinforcement. Now, time to time, I have been asked that if GPR can provide information about the size of steel reinforcement, then I would say that's a little bit tricky at this point. GPR doesn't really directly provide information about the size of steel reinforcement. Although, like if you have, for example, a steel rebar or steel beam in the concrete element, like from the type of response, you expect that you can pick those type of variations. But at this stage, it is very difficult to come up with an idea about the size of a steel reinforcement. The results of GPR is the location of steel bars. So if you are, like, for example, planning to drill a core, drill a hole here, then you will make sure that this area of between the rebars are the most appropriate location to put your drilling machine on. If there are any ducts or like cables in the concrete slab and you want to avoid, this is another application. Another group of tests that I would like to talk about is half-cell corrosion potential. Half-cell corrosion potential is a great tool to verify the corrosion activity in concrete structures. This is widely used for pre-bridge deck condition survey, but it is also very useful in parking garages, especially if they are exposed to like de-icing agents such as salt. Half-cell corrosion potential maps, when developed and interpreted properly, can help engineers identify the likelihood of active corrosion in concrete elements. For your review, I have like a short video on how the process is. You normally take a reference connection to steel reinforcement, and then you perform the testing on several points in a concrete slab. The results can be presented as a contour plot, often used as Hassel corrosion potential map, and this map can be interpreted when the results are more positive than minus 200 millivolt for copper-copper sulfate electrode, then the chances of active corrosion is less than 10%. And if it is more negative than minus 350, then the chances of having active corrosion like the red zones is more than 90%. The test remains uncertain for the range between the two. So you have to always handle the test results with extreme care. Now, there are other tests in this category that can help structural engineers collect more information about the corrosion, the durability performance of concrete. Surface electrical resistivity of concrete is certainly one of the best methods these days to verify the durability parameters of concrete. Corrosion rate measurement, if you are like dealing with some sort of service life modeling, can provide information that are like pretty useful in terms of like planning, and absolutely carbonation depth. When you are having a structure that is exposed to carbonation, then these are tests that are relatively NDT, not entirely NDT, because as you saw, like there is a need to open up a steel reinforcement at some point and get the connection. But in general, the test is categorized as NDT. With this, I'm going to bring this presentation to a closure. The most significant remark is that NDT can help structural engineers in different ways. It can help come up with the structural details. So if you want to find the location of the steel reinforcement, steel strands, then GPR is a great tool for using. If you are especially dealing with an older building that there are so many information unknown, the use of like GPR and pulse eddy current technique can help you eliminate some of those unknowns. Then you can use a bunch of NDT methods such as ultrasonic pulse velocity and the pulse echo technique to verify structural integrity of concrete. These are important when it comes to mechanical durability of concrete and other problems such as detecting voids and cracks in the concrete. If you want to also find the extent of defects, that is, these NDT methods are extremely beneficial. So you can minimize the location of your repair and remedy work to areas that are really in poor condition. And then material characterization. Sometimes engineers want to collect information about the strength of concrete and like coring is not permitted. So in these cases, engineers can use the alternative NDT methods to come up with an idea about the strength of concrete. With this, I end up this presentation here, and I open the questions.